the fishing. When they lost calling as a fishers of men. So they returned. They returned to the old life, to the past profession, job. I mean, this means they return to the worldly life, to the worldly life. I always taught this way, but there is another explanation. Remember, the first week, Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene, 10 disciples, and Thomas. And obviously, sometime later on, they returned to Galilee. They returned to Galilee?
Jesus said.
Yeah. They returned to Galilee. And then, after 40 days, ascension, Jesus gave them great commission, what to do. Commission. Then, during this period, disciples didn't know what to do. Sitting around, nothing to do, unsure, what should we do, So, instead of killing time, Peter said, I'm going to fishing. So others said, we will go with you. I read the Bible commentary book. 3 artists and 2 artists. So you choose what you think is right. Because I always taught this way. And then, because they abandoned the God's calling, and they returned to the worldly life. But this is also very reasonable. They have nothing to do.
I'm not sure, but I think I read it before Jesus' death. Mm-hmm. He said he will go to Galilee.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's the Gospel Matthew, Gospel Mark, and go Galilee. So they were waiting, no specific instruction, So this is 2 different explanation. Either way. Okay, we go to question 2.
What was the result of the night fishing?
Night fishing.
3b. Simon Peter said to them, I'm going fishing. They said to him, we'll go with you. They went out and get into the boat. But that night they caught nothing. They got nothing.
They caught nothing. Nothing. Even our church went to fishing, right? And then got the small fish. Chanyeong got the one small fish. He got so small. Okay. But 7 disciples got nothing. And usually, night fishing, they catch more. Do you know why? Really, fish feed on early in the morning and before, right after sunset. That's the fish feed themselves. And then at night, they had the lamp light, and then fish come by the, light. So night fishing is a lot more effective than day fishing. So really, real fisherman goes night fishing. They caught nothing. All right, Brother Roman.
Okay. How might the disciples have felt when they had caught nothing from 15:5? It says, I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So basically, a lesson on being with Jesus so that they can be fruitful.
Imagine this is not hobby, you know, not recreational fishing. This was for living. They have to pay bill. They have to buy food, you know, support themselves financially. And they caught nothing. They worked night shift all night and didn't make even $1. So how do you think they have felt their heart? Yeah, deep, deep disappointment. This is failure because it's failure, deep, deep disappointment. I saw this. I saw this in some pastors. They serve in the church like 5 years, 10 years, and when they lost their job, they came out into the world, and then they trying to find a job. There's nothing they can do, you know, um, nothing they can do. And the failure is so terrible. The failure was one one the Latin professor. The seminary school was closed, so that he couldn't get a job. Couldn't get a job. So you know what? He went nursing school. So after 3 years, he got a night shift nurse job. So when God's servant once very, very powerful and come back into this world and trying to compete in the job market, failure. And it is so terrible, that failure. I mean, they are all experienced, excellent fishermen. So it's so strange. And then it just hurt their pride, and it just it just cannot explain how hard in their heart that they could not even, because it is their specialty. They're supposed to be excellent. They're supposed to even catch one little small fish, but they couldn't. And so their heart is despair, filled with despair. It is very bad for individual, or especially for men. It is very, very uh, difficult experience. Okay, let's do the number 3.
When and where did the risen Jesus come to the disciples? Jesus came to the shore, and then when they found out, they could nothing.
Early in the morning, it was still very dark. Maybe 5:30 or 6. This as the day breaking. So maybe 6:30, and the seashore. Jesus was on the seashore, and he came to the disciples. Now things were different when Jesus came. We'll see next. Karen?
For whom did the risen Jesus appear this
time? Last time Jesus appeared to Thomas. And this whole chapter 21 When you read the whole chapter 21, it is for Peter. Peter. Whole chapter 21, it is focusing Peter. Jesus came to help Peter. Okay, but Isaac, third question.
Why didn't the disciple realize that it was Jesus?
Can you read that verse 4?
Just as day was breaking, Jesus stood on the shore. Yet the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Daybreak time is dark.
Yeah, it was kind of still dark. And then?
Little far from the boat.
It was about 100 yards away. How about 100 yards? How far it is?
It's a football field.
That's very far. Very far. So 100 yards away. Can you tell somebody in the seashore, on the seashore, 100 yards away?
He yelled to them, so therefore Jesus must have a powerful voice.
Yeah. Also, another fact, even face to face, the disciples did not recognize, Mary did not recognize risen Jesus. Two disciples to Emmaus, they were looking at face to face and they didn't recognize risen Jesus. So they needed some spiritual insight to recognize risen Jesus. Next question.
What did the stranger on the shore say to them? From verse 4.
So far, Jesus was considered as the stranger.
Actually, verse 5 it says, He called out to them, saying, Friends, haven't you any fish?
Mm-hmm.
No, they answered.
No. So, haven't you have any fish? And then our ESV is children. Do you have any fish? So it's exactly like a lad, L-A-D, English, lad, or kids. So one translation is friends, another translation is children. Haven't you have any fish? That's the right translation. Asking negative way, expecting negative answer. Okay, so Judy.
What did they answer?
No, really short answer. When you are very successful, you have a lot of things to say, and you are in a failure. Answer is very short.
Okay, tired. Hungry and tired.
So no. Okay, move to question 4. Karen.
What did the stranger on the shore say to them and to do, and what did he promise? Throw your net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some.
Yeah. Throw your net on the right side of the boat and promise you will find some. What if they throw the net to the left side of the boat?
Didn't he say that before?
They won't catch. Jesus said, right side of the boat. So they stood to the right side of the boat. And you will find some. Okay, next chapter, Isaac.
Next. Why might the disciples have difficulty to follow his advice from the stranger? on the shore. Difficult here. They already tried so many times.
Yeah.
And then they caught nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They're really very, very discouraged with a lot of failure.
So their heart was fully convinced. Maybe they started fishing 7 p.m. till 6 a.m., 11 hours. How many times, they throw the net and move the location here and there. They knew where the fish goes, all that location they move. Nothing. And then now, if they throw to the right side, okay, so because they are really self-confident through their experience, it's hard to take this advice. Okay, next.
Okay, what did the disciples do? Uh, when they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of a large number of fish. Okay. So what did the disciples do? They actually obeyed what Jesus told them.
Yeah.
As a result, they couldn't bring it in.
They were humble enough to obey. They were humble. Even though they themselves were excellent fishermen, they were humble. They took advice. The result was a miracle, a huge catch. All right. Next, so Judy.
How might the disciples have felt in their hearts? Jesus.
No, they didn't know it was Jesus up to that time. They didn't know.
So John first realized it was Jesus.
Yeah. So when they had a huge, and then they couldn't. Usually, they put they hold the net on top of the boat, but they couldn't do it because it was too big. The catch was too big, and so they just dragged the net to the shore because they couldn't pull, on the boat. Have you ever gone fishing? You hours fishing, you can catch not a single fish. Then your mind is your mind is so frustrated, and you know. But when you catch one fish, your mind is just open. Your closed mind is just open. But if you ended up catching some big fish, wow, your heart is fully open. You penetrate,
Restored
everything. Joy and power and confidence, everything. It just explode your heart with great joy by even catching one fish. But this was a miracle, and they couldn't, lift up the net because too many big fish. So can you? Disciples' heart was like open by like a dynamite, exploded with joy, and so the failure completely gone. Like this. Okay. So disciples' heart was completely open and overjoyed. Next. Next.
Compare the hard labor of the 7 fishermen and one-time obedience to the word of Jesus.
Okay. They cast the net all night. So compare man's effort and obeying Jesus' word one time, only once. Now, suppose, seven of them. How many times do you think they threw the net? 1 hour. 1 hour, how many times? 10 times every 6 minutes? Yeah, you threw the net, you wait a little bit, So that's every 10 minutes they threw the net. And then 11 hours. So how many times do you think they threw the net? 462. 462 times they threw the net. And then Jesus' word, they threw the net only one time. This is a human effort without Jesus. And then only one time obeying Jesus. And they got nothing. And here, a miracle, a great catch. Great catch. This is the difference. We do in obedience and Jesus' word. Obeying, following Jesus' word. In here, without Jesus, with our own strength, own idea, own experience. Jesus said, you can do nothing. Okay. So, we should always, whatever we do, we should always invite Jesus in what we do. Invite Jesus, pray, invite Jesus. And also, we have to follow Jesus' word. We have to follow Jesus' instruction. Then, even though we throw the net only one time, we will experience great miracle. And this one is 100 times nothing. Human effort, nothing. Okay, next.
What was the way of Jesus when he restored the disciples from their failure? Way of Jesus.
Jesus came when disciples were in big failure. So, what was the way of Jesus when he restored the disciples from their failure? Jesus gave them big success. And Jesus gave them big success where they failed. In what they failed. The failure is very bad in our heart. And they failed in catching fish. Jesus gave them overcome huge success. I I experienced in my life first failure when I was fourth grade, elementary school, and then the local radio station. There was audition for the choir member, so I went to audition. It's first time, so my voice was like a little trembling, no confidence. So I flunked to that failure experience remained so many years, so many years. I couldn't get it. It just gave me, shame, inability. It just in there in my heart that I failed it. It's so bad. But like, had Jesus come to me, Jesus will give me like a voice like an opera singer, He will give me huge success so I can overcome that. huh? Um, where we fail, Jesus will help us overcome. Okay. Like we try to bury the Peter experience, painful experience of a failure, and then we try to do something else. And Jesus didn't do that. Jesus gave them where you fail, you know, overcome with a great success. And so then our inner heart, there is no shadow of failure. Okay. Question 5.
Who first recognized it was the Lord from verse 7. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." So, John.
Yeah. So among 7 of them, they were amazed that they were so glad and wow, how much is gonna be? It's going to be several $1,000 catch. But John realized the man on the shore who gave them great success was the Lord. Next question, Judy.
Why did he have a keener insight to recognize Jesus than 6 other disciples did?
Why do you think he has such a keen insight to recognize Jesus? Others didn't.
Actually, Peter had the same experience.
I know. Yeah.
Peter should have known better. they, everybody met Jesus, with Jesus, and then maybe John, the most believed Jesus' resurrection.
Luke chapter 5, verse 1 through 11, a very similar, episode. Because Peter and his brother Andrew, John and James, 4 of them were in the boat. And then Jesus preached. And then later on, Jesus said that put down your net into deep and you will catch. And Peter said, we've been, fishing all night, caught nothing. But because you say so, I will obey. I will let down the net. And then at that time, they had a huge catch and the net was torn because too many fish. So at the time, very similar experience. But there was John, his brother James, and Andrew and Peter, 4 of them here too. Then why John, he had more insight, recognizing Jesus. So it's not, it was still kind of dark, and they were 100 yards away. So it's not physical insight to recognize Jesus. It was in the heart, in the John's heart. This was spiritual insight. John saw who's behind the miracle. John saw beyond the miracle, who is behind, and he recognized Jesus. He said that the disciple whom Jesus loved. So, is there any relationship with the love? I'm not quite sure. But when we see miracle, some people only see the miracle, But John saw who is behind the miracle, who is doing this miracle. It was Jesus. That's the point. When we see miracle, great blessing, the most shallow, attitude is, because I did it. No. And then he said, oh, I will keep on having miracle. I will be greatly successful. No. The right attitude is, who is behind this miracle? Is Jesus. Okay. Next question. Karen.
How did Peter act to meet the risen Jesus? As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment around him, then took it off and dipped him in the water.
Yeah. So maybe while he was working, fishing, he took up his outer garment and then working. But when he saw Jesus, why did he put his clothes on when he had to swim?
He's the Lord. He has to be tired.
Yeah, out of respect. Uh-huh. He had a deep respect. So he cannot, even in swimming situation, he cannot go to Jesus in with no clothes on. So really, he honored Jesus. He cannot dare meet Jesus without clothes. But have you ever swum with clothes on? It is very difficult. Right. Okay, next.
How did the how did the rest disciples with the risen Jesus? Verse 8. The other disciples came into the boat, dragging the net full of fish. The other disciples came into the boat.
Yeah, they were rowing the boat, and then they were pulling the net, and they came in the boat. So Peter, he jumped, he swam. He still has great zeal for the Lord. He he want to go fast, and then with Jesus, his heart was so excited. All right, question 6.
When they landed, what did they see? From verse 9. When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread.
Yeah, it says charcoal fire, and was cooking fish, and there was bread. for 7 men to eat. Next question, Judy.
Who's cooking the fish and the bread? Jesus.
Yeah. Can you imagine Jesus was cooking? You know, the bread we bake in an oven, right, with the yeast. But at the time, like they mix it, and then without yeast, like a cake, like they could bake on top of the fire. And Jesus was cooking. I wonder how tasty.
Made in Jesus.
Cooked by Jesus. All right. Next, Karen.
What did the disciples do when they arrived on the shore? Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and tried to net.
Yeah. They pulled the net. They pulled the net to the shore, and then opened the net. Can you believe the fish were jumping? You know, red fish in the Gulf, Mexico. Red fish is like this big, and then 153 of them. They counted, and 153 fish jumping like that. Wow, what a excitement they did. Okay, next.
What did Jesus say to invite them to the breakfast? Verse 12. Um, Jesus said to them, "Come and have a breakfast."
Breakfast.
Breakfast.
Come and have the breakfast. Jesus invited them. This is informal eating fellowship. Sometimes informal eating fellowship is more powerful than sermon. It is so powerful. Especially my sister cooks, Her dinner, her meal is so powerful. Yeah. So Jesus invite them, come and have the breakfast. We always think Jesus preach, teach, but in here, Jesus having eating fellowship. Okay, next.
Why was it the best word for the disciples to hear at that time? Because they were hungry and they worked all night.
Yeah, it's the best word for the disciples to hear at that time because they were exhausted, they were hungry. Best word, come in and eat. The other day, Sister Helen, she arrived in the airport from airport, and then she came to my house. I said, I have a chicken soup. You wanna eat? Wow, that's the.
She said it's like a song in my ear. It's the kind of song.
Oh, she was so happy to hear it. Um, so when we are hungry, it is so sweet. Someone inviting us to eating fellowship, especially even though same food. When I eat on the beach or mountain, same food tastes so good. And I heard one missionary to Mexico. She told me whenever she went to Mexico mission trip, like 3-4 months at a time, she said she always prepare food Because you wanna preach to hungry people. People didn't eat breakfast or dinner. They are hungry, and you cannot just teach them. You have to feed them first. Then she, give the gospel message. Uh, all right. Next question, Sister Judy.
What did Jesus do to the speechless disciples? Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them, and so
Yeah.
he served. Served them.
Jesus' disciples was speechless, and Jesus broke the fish and gave it to them, put in their hand, and bread he divided and put in their hand and served them. Okay, Karen?
What did it show that none of the disciples dared ask Jesus, "Who are you?"
Yeah. They didn't say anything to Jesus. Nothing. Because all of them knew it was the risen Jesus who died and was buried and was resurrected from the dead. They knew. No question it was Jesus. And also, they didn't say anything because we can feel some distance in their relationship, with the risen Jesus. They still feel little bit distance, not quite as they were before. Suppose I die and then I came back to life and talk to you, you're gonna have a little distance, and it will take time. It will take time to be just like in the past. So the disciples was a little bit still keep distance from Jesus. Okay, question 7.
Question 7 outline the whole chapter 21.
Okay,
Outline.
outline. So here, Jesus' disciples went fishing and then failure. So next,
Jesus appeared to the disciples and said to them, throw your net to the right side, and they followed it, and they caught a lot of fish.
Yeah. So Jesus gave them a big catch, and then
Jesus gave them, Peter and disciples came to Jesus, and Jesus prepared breakfast.
and then breakfast. It goes now. It goes totally to Peter's faith, reinstated calling. Peter's reinstated Peter's calling. This is whole chapter 21. Here, big catch. Peter's disciples overcame their failure, but behind this big catch, Jesus trying to show Jesus, see Jesus, not just 153 fish, but who Jesus is. Who Jesus? This is important. Who Jesus is. The many people don't come here They don't see Jesus. They only see Jesus, big catch. And so, oh, God will bless me as a fisherman. And then they want to catch again and again and again like that because they miss to see Jesus. This is a real story. One family opened a beauty supply store, and they're Christian. So of course, I guess they pray. And then the one store became really successful, big hit. And then they thought, oh, God wants us, continue success. They open second store, third store, fourth store, fifth, sixth, seventh store. What? They went bankruptcy. They sold their $1 million house. They lost everything because, they only saw initial big catch. Why? Did Jesus give them big catch so that they can be successful as a fisherman? No. Jesus gave them big catch so that they can see who Jesus is. And then still, now they overcame their failure, but still their relationship with Jesus was still very awkward, very not natural. So by sharing the informal breakfast, Jesus had restored relationship. It became an intimate relationship with disciples. Then next Bible study, Jesus reinstate calling. Jesus focus whole thing. Jesus focus on Peter's faith because Peter is important. He's the leader. When he said, "I'm going fishing," others said, "We'll go with you. I'm going to die for Jesus. We will die for Jesus." He's the leader. So all other disciples. So Peter's faith is very, very important. The whole thing is, what I was so amazed was how Jesus approached Peter's faith step by step. Step by step. First, Jesus helped them overcome their failure. Then they go into closer relationship. Then Jesus restore calling, Peter's faith. So I was like here. I will directly, without discourse, I directly failing person. You should serve Jesus. I think that's why I failed many times in my interpersonal relationship because I omit this one. Ignore. So if I speak truth, people should listen to me like that. But Jesus didn't do that. Jesus first, what problem they are failing and struggling, help them overcome. Then have a more closer relationship, step by step. Then he restored very sensitive. Peter lost calling, right? He reinstated calling Jesus, step by step. So when I thought about this one, Shepherd Tan is so good in doing this.
Amen.
And Shepherd Roman too. He's so good. He's very step by step. But I was like, boom, and they don't open their heart. 배고픈데 나가고.
This is like starting a book and going to the last chapter of the book.
Yeah. I'm so amazed how Jesus helping so skillfully or so deep when he helping people. Peter. So finally, the last book of John, Peter's faith was fully restored. His calling was, he lost when he denied Jesus, but then calling was fully restored. So I need to be really more, little bit delicate what their situation is. And then step by step. Amazing Jesus. Okay, today's Bible study is up here, and let's discuss and pray together.